So when I tell this story, I really have to be careful of how I tell this story. It's very delicate, but I was probably one of the first, I don't know how many people have had or attempted to have the red flag law placed on them in Washington state, but I definitely was. And it was pretty early on in the process of, not in the process, they did it in Washington state. So, but it was not long after they put it in place. Again, I have to be careful. I petitioned someone to court, okay? And in the process of doing that, the individual figured they strike back at me by attacking something they know that I'm serious about, which is my guns. So the first thing that was said to the judge, boy, I gotta be careful here, was along the lines of, I'm not sure if this person is safe, and I'm concerned with my well-being as well as others. It's the best way I can put this. And so I didn't even know about the red flag law, to be honest. I'm like, I knew, but I didn't know that it had already actually been like put in place. So what I originally thought was just like, oh, maybe it's some sort of restraining order or something like that, which kind of is what it really is, kind of. The judge tells this person where to go and what to fill out. And here's how I can tell you it wasn't a restraining order. So this is a red flag law. Restraining order is you can't come within a certain distance of this person. It's not what this was. So they filled out some paperwork or whatever, did whatever they did, and I was served, basically. Not served, I received something in the mail. I wasn't served. I received something in the mail quick. But as soon as this person did it, before I had it in the mail, I knew they had did it because they sent me a text message saying, look, this is what I did. And, you know, if you cancel this court stuff, I'll cancel this. Otherwise, this is what you get, basically. I just held on to the text message, but that's another story. So I get in the mail, I need to turn in all my guns to the nearest police station. I need to turn in all my guns until the court process is over with. I didn't think that was a good idea, so I didn't do it. However, there's a process to this. So basically at the next hearing, if the guns haven't been turned in, they come to your house, from what I understand, right? So they give you a chance to give it all up yourself. If you don't, then they're coming. I was blessed in this situation, and not everybody's could get lucky like I did. This is why the red flag law is so dangerous, because this was done to me out of spite. I've never ever made any comment of hurting anyone or anything of the sort to any degree, but it was drop it or else this is what you get, basically. So anyhow, my blessing was this. The judge, this was in the summertime, right? So this was like June. The judge extradited, I think that's the right word, the court situation. And instead of it being the finishing line being in December of that year, she made it within 30 days, right? She sped it up, like right here, right now. So that's what happened. So it wasn't even 30 days. It feels like it was quicker than that, because it happened, I want to say it was July 1st is when this happened. So boom, go to the court. One of the things that came up was indeed the guns. And are you crazy? So that's where I'm blessed at. See, if it was still out to December, then they would have been coming to get the guns. That would have been a whole different story. Would I be here right now? Have no idea. Because it was sped up, that process for them coming to get it didn't happen. And again, this was so early in, them having the red flag law and putting it in place. I don't know. It didn't seem like they took it as serious. Like, I think it has to do with the way it was worded and what was said. It wasn't like, hey, he's going to kill people now, right? But it was, I'm afraid, I don't trust him. He may do something I don't know, kind of a thing. And that's why it went the way it went. It was, okay, we'll turn in all your guns. You have until this date to turn in all your guns. I wish I should have looked at I still have the paperwork. I should have looked at it, because I could have told you, because it was quick. Like, I feel like it was less than 30 days. It feels like it was like 15 to 20 days, how fast the judgment, thing sped up. So anyhow, When I get there, this is where I have to be careful as well. When I get there, the judge says, okay, I don't know how to tell this without giving too much information. Like, I really got to be careful. The judge questioned me about my guns and gun handling. What was basically said is I was seen doing something reckless with my gun. This was just one of the many things that was put into this paperwork or whatever that was put in place for this red flag law. Not a restraining order whatsoever. Okay. It was per definition, it wasn't a restraining order, red flag law. And so it was, yeah, they say you were seen doing something reckless with a gun. I had to let the judge know, okay, well, listen, I managed a range for several years. I've taught, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Even provided the judge with my taxes, my W-2s, whatever, of me working at the range. And I said, what was seen is me clearing my gun. When I did what I did, or what they claimed they seen, which actually didn't even happen, but I used it against them. So I'm like, what they seen is me clearing my firearm. It must be pointed in a safe direction where there's no one at, like a wall, a ground, something like that, to clear the gun. You know, you drop the bag, you make sure there's no round in the chamber, you eject the round in the chamber, and then stare into the chamber to make sure there's no bullet in there, and then point in a safe direction and pull the trigger. So the judge's like, well, you know, accidents still happen. What about ricochets? And I'm like, well, that's part of the reason why I pointed the direction that I did. So she's still trying to figure out how to like fight. And she's definitely not a pro-gun judge. Okay. So she's definitely trying to kind of like figure out how to basically say, no, you're doing things dangerous and you need to do it a completely different way. Like no guns in the house at all is almost what she sounded like she was aiming towards, but I got to give her props. I'll tell you why. So she even mentioned something like, well, can't you do that in the car? Like she said stuff like this. And so it's like, but she caught herself even when she said that. Once it was explained, like what I did is what you're supposed to do to be safe. And then you put the gun up or whatever. She asked that for a second. She said, well, can you do that in the car? And I'm like, well, the same thing, the car, the house, there is no difference. But I didn't even necessarily have to completely say that. As I was getting to it, she said, okay, hold on. And this is where I got to give her props. She said, okay, hold on. And she kind of did this thing here. She closed her eyes. She thought about it. And she said, okay, all right, we're moving on. And this is from a judge that was not a pro-gun judge whatsoever, but I gave, and there's so much being left out because I have to be so careful, right? But I gave such a good argument and explanation that she had nothing. Like there was nothing there. You know what I mean? And so it was just, okay, move on. So fast forward, when everything's said and done, it was, all right, you're good to go. You don't need to turn in your guns. You're good to go there. And you win all things that you came here, to fight in court. So won all of it. And again, I was lucky and blessed because this judge sped this up. If she didn't speed this up and it was still pushed out to December, now I would have been in a bad way. Now, what's the point of this story though? Because there's a lot I can't say, but there's a point to this story. The point is, as soon as we heard about the red flag law, most people thought, well, hell, anybody can do that. Anybody can just make a call and say, hey, this person's insane, take his guns, just because they don't like you or whatever reason. And then that's exactly what happened to me. That's exactly what happened. This person was upset because I was, taking them to court and whatnot. And boom, okay, well, since you're taking me to court and doing this and I don't like it and I don't like you and you're, making me angry, I'm going to throw this at you. And I was also able to send the text message and give it to the judge, and the judge seeing that this person was trying to blackmail me through this. And even through that, she still was questioning me with this gun stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it was that serious, but I was still, I articulated myself very well. The biggest thing is, look, I'm 100% gun safety. Like that's what I'm about. That's what I do. That's what I taught for years. And it's like, what else can you ask of a gun owner but to be firearm safety mentality you can have. Like, be as safe with firearms as possible. You can't ask any more than that. And I explained it to her very well how I was playing that exact, like, firearm safety. I was doing exactly what you're supposed to do and what's needed and even more. I was lucky. But what about the person that doesn't get it sped up, which is highly unlikely? I got lucky in that situation. But somebody used the red flag law to try and hurt me, to try and blackmail me. And that's what we were all afraid of. And that's absolutely exactly what happened to me. And I mean, it could have even besides the it being sped up, it could have been even worse, because if the wording was different, they could have just came immediately to my house to come take the guns, right? Like, it could have been more than just, I don't know if that's even the way they work it, to be honest, right? But if it was worded different, I'm assuming that they wouldn't have just given me the time to go turn it in, that they would have just come to take it. Maybe that's not the case. I don't know. You know, what I got was, you have until this time to turn your guns in. And I just got lucky, and that time basically lined up perfect with within a few days of, you know, the court deal being sped up to this date, it being finalized. Totally lucky there. That's the story. I'm sorry there's so many spots that are so vague, but I have to talk it that way. I have to talk it that way for multiple reasons, but I have to speak it that way because it's very delicate. That's what happened to me. I was actually read it out in court, the text message. So she came out saying, I read something very disturbing today. This was the last day of court or whatever. And she asked me to read it out loud. So I read the blackmail out loud. And even after reading that it was clear that was done as a blackmail, she was still digging into me about the guns and firearm safety and why you got so many and that kind of thing. And I just had to keep it real, to be honest with you. That's what I did. I kept it real, like all the way. So yeah, that's the situation. I got lucky, blessed, but imagine that's crazy rare. Anybody can use that against anybody. What's the next guy gonna do when they don't get it sped up, when the wording is different and it's done out of spite, blackmail? What are you gonna do then? That's BS. We need to kill these red flag laws. There needs to be a different way. It shouldn't be that anybody can just do it to anybody just cause. There needs to be something else there. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but that's not fair. And if you think, well, it's only going to be done no, it can be done. It happened to me. So thanks for watching. Let me out.